Hello world, this is Michael G. Nastos for WDEE-TV Headline News, coming to you from the WDEE-TV studios in Ypsilanti, Michigan. News for this Thursday, August 21st, 2014. Our top story today comes from the New York Times and writer Aaron M. Kessler. Google may be experimenting with its own driverless cars, but the technology being tested in Ann Arbor by a group of academic, industry, and government researchers could be retrofitted into ordinary cars. The University of Michigan, or the Tree Division, is rolling out a program, has been for the last 2 years, sponsored by the Department of Transportation that would enable cars to electronically communicate with each other and the road. A driver moves along in traffic, the forward view blocked by a truck or a bend in the road. Suddenly, up ahead, someone slams on the brakes, tires screech, and there is little time to react. Researchers here are working to add time to that equation. They envision a not-too-distant future scenario in which vehicles are in constant harmonious communication with one another and their surroundings, instantly warning drivers of unseen dangers. When a motorist brakes quickly, a careless driver can run a red light, or a truck bears down unseen in a passing lane. Dashboards in nearby cars light up immediately with warnings, providing additional reaction times to avoid a pileup. The Transportation Department announced this week a plan to require incoming the years ahead that the technology, so-called vehicle-to-vehicle communications, be installed in all cars and trucks in the United States. Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox called it, quote, the next great advance in saving lives, unquote. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that vehicle-to-vehicle transmitters will add only about $350 to the total cost of a vehicle by 2020. The safety agency expects prices to fall as the mandate approaches, as has already happened with features like rear-view cameras, which will be required in 2018. By the end of this decade, if all goes as planned, the typical American vehicle will be part of a network constantly sharing information as it travels. More on this story can be found on the local news feeds link on our website at WDEE-TV.com. Coming up next on our newscast, Quicken Loans owner Dan Gilbert is reportedly eyeing a stake in a magazine focusing on the ultra-rich. We'll be right back.
At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free. Morgan Taylor is located at 133 West Michigan Avenue in Ypsilanti. Clothing and accessories for men, women, and children at Morgan Taylor. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 734-221-0296. Ask about layaways and in-store financing. At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free.
Welcome back. This is Michael G. Nastos for WDEE-TV Headline News, coming to you from the WDEE-TV studios in Ypsilanti, Michigan. We thank our sponsors for helping us with this newscast today. Our next story comes from the Detroit Free Press and writer J.C. Reindl. Quicken Loans founder Dan Gilbert may be looking to enter the business of high-gloss lifestyle magazines. The New York Post reported this week on speculation that Gilbert could be in the final round of talks to buy a stake in the company that publishes the Robb Report, a magazine that caters to the world's ultra-wealthy. The Robb Report describes itself as, quote, the definitive authority on connoisseurship for the ultra-affluent consumer, unquote. It covers trends in the worlds of private jets, yachts, sports cars, jewelry, watches, and exotic real estate. There are tailored versions of the magazine for the well-heeled in at least 12 countries. The tabloid cited an unnamed source who whispered that Gilbert's umbrella firm Rock Ventures may be preparing to shell out as much as $60 million for the Malibu, California-based Kurt Co. Media. A Rock Ventures spokesperson could not be reached for comment Wednesday, and a Robb Report representative was not available. Ranked number 408 on the Forbes latest list of world billionaires, Dan Gilbert could count himself among the Robb Report's largest demographic of deep-pocketed high rollers. His acquisitions and investments have received attention this summer from New York media. Business Insider reported last month that the Cleveland Cavaliers owner made a $40 million investment in the rap lyrics decoding website Rap Genius after being approached by one of the site's founders at a Detroit Lions game. More on this story can be found on local news feeds link on our website at WDEE-TV.com online. Coming up next, more on the Ice Bucket Challenge benefiting ALS. This is WDEE-TV.com. Come right back with us. Welcome back. This is Michael G. Nastos for WDEE-TV Headline News, coming to you from the WDEE-TV studios here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, in southeastern Michigan. Our next story today comes from the Detroit Free Press and writer Robin Erb. As icy water cascades over the heads of athletes, celebrities, politicians, and everyday men, women, and children in a social media frenzy, the phones at ALS of Michigan keep ringing. I've never seen anything like it, says Sue Burstein-Kahn, who has headed the organization here in Michigan since 1999. She says it's amazing. In other words, all those cringe-inducing stunts in the Ice Bucket Challenge are in a very serious way filling up the coffers that pay for equipment and support for those diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, the deadly disease also known as Lou Gehrig's disease that strips its victims of their ability to move, talk, and ultimately to breathe. It's unclear just how much the local organization has raised in the past few days, says Burstein-Kahn. That's because many of the donations are pledges that the organization hopes materialize during its walk and roll fundraisers coming up in September. But the organization, which usually gets maybe a few calls a week, as she said, with a donation, has heard from at least 200 callers within the past week wanting to know more or to write a check, she said. More on this story can be found, and there'll be a lot more as it develops, on the local news feeds link on our website, WDEE-TV.com. Our next story, High Court hopefuls, abortion stance stirs up Michigan Democrats.
At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free. Morgan Taylor is located at 133 West Michigan Avenue in Ypsilanti. Clothing and accessories for men, women, and children at Morgan Taylor. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 734-221-0296. Ask about layaways and in-store financing. At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free.
Moving right along, this is Michael G. Nastos for WDEE-TV Headline News, coming to you again from the WDEE-TV studios in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Our next story today comes from the Detroit News and writer Gary Heinlein. A decision by Court of Appeals Chief Judge William Murphy to run for the Michigan Supreme Court has stirred up opposition from pro-abortion rights forces ahead of this weekend's Democratic State Convention. The party's Justice and Women's caucuses have taken issue with Murphy's apparent anti-abortion position. Debate over the Supreme Court nominations could become the Democrats' version of the Tea Party versus establishment disputes expected at the GOP's state convention Saturday. The Democratic Party should not nominate a candidate who does not support the rights of women to make their own choices about their reproductive health, the liberal-leaning Justice Caucus said in a statement posted on its website. The Women's Caucus described Murphy as, quote, an anti-choice 69-year-old white male, unquote, while urging its members to carpool to Lansing and supporting a pro-choice progressive candidate to be announced later. Their objections ran counter to an endorsement of Murphy this week from the Michigan Association of Justice, a trial lawyers group that often influences the party's high court choices. Murphy, who has served 26 years on the state appeals court and has been chief judge for 3 consecutive terms, told the Detroit News he believes his experience could benefit the Supreme Court. He said, I don't go about expressing my views on this issue or others, Murphy said about abortion. I don't think it's appropriate for me or any other judge to commit to a position on any issue. More on this story on our local news feed link on our website at WDEE-TV.com. Our final story on the news today, coming to terms with gentrification in Detroit. Our final story for today on WDEE-TV Headline News, coming from the Detroit Free Press and writer Nancy Derringer of Bridge Magazine. Detroiters like to toss numbers around, not necessarily as data, but more as signifiers. There's the 313, the city distinguished from its suburban area codes. You used to be able to buy a t-shirt reading 713,777, Detroit's population in the 2010 census. To this add another, the 7.2, and that's shorthand for the 7.2 square miles of greater downtown Detroit and encompasses freshly scrubbed neighborhoods in downtown Corktown, Midtown, New Center, Woodbridge, Eastern Market, Lafayette Park, and Rivertown. These are also the neighborhoods where rents are rising, new apartments are being built or renovated faster than you can say subway tile backslash, and affluent muppies are outbidding their less affluent peers for loft-style living space with river and skyline views. Just a few years ago, many of these buildings were like thousands of others in the city, unused, shuttered, short of blighted, but blight perhaps on the horizon. Today, they're home to the vanguard of the most publicized urban migration in years, that of the young, moneyed, and well-educated people back into Detroit, at least into these 7.2 square miles. And tucked into those moving boxes, like Pandora's mythical one, are either the evils of gentrification or its benefits. It all depends on your attitude. Or, for that matter, your terms. Gentrification doesn't have a hard and fast definition, but in general it describes the phenomenon of an urban neighborhood rising in desirability, attracting more affluent residents. Poorer, long-time residents may find themselves pushed out by such economic factors as rising taxes and rents, Or you might wake up one day to find familiar storefronts transformed into an unwelcome warren of tapas bars and single-origin fair trade coffee shops. More on this and other stories found in the local news feeds link on our website at WDEE-TV.com. For WDEE-TV Headline News, this has been Michael G. Nastos reporting. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody. See you next time. That's been the news for WDEE-TV for this Thursday, August 21st, 2014. So long, everybody.
At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free. Morgan Taylor is located at 133 West Michigan Avenue in Ypsilanti. Clothing and accessories for men, women, and children at Morgan Taylor. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 734-221-0296. Ask about layaways and in-store financing. At Morgan Taylor, buy 2 suits, get a 3rd suit free.